California is proof positive that progressive values put into action improve the human condition.
What the hell did you just say?
Because the record speaks for itself by nearly any objective measure. Today's California is thriving, not in spite of these progressive policies, but because of these progressive policies.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Estimates indicate that there are over 500,000 homeless people in the United States, and around 10% of those live in Los Angeles. These shocking pictures from downtown LA capture the growing problem it faces with trash and rodents in a desperate city also trying to contain a typhoid fever outbreak linked to worsening sanitary conditions. A decision to not cap the total amount of property that homeless people can keep on Skid Row was announced last Wednesday, and it sparked fury among some officials who say it would only perpetuate the public health crisis that already exists there. That, coupled with the news that an LA police detective has been diagnosed with typhoid fever, has sparked concern among LA residents. The city has now said it will dispose of sofas, refrigerators, and other large items in the 50-block area of downtown. But Councilman Joe Buscaino slammed the decision, saying the settlement will only perpetuate the public health crisis that already exists in Skid Row, and it'll set a precedent for the rest of the city that'll normalize encampments. The city is sending a clear signal that we are turning the sidewalks in Skid Row into free, unlimited public storage, doing a disservice to the residents of Los Angeles, especially to those living on the streets. Images from the downtown area show trash piling up as workers struggle to keep the area sanitized. Rows and rows of tents line the sidewalks of Skid Row in the sprawling 50-block area, home to around 5,000 homeless people, many in tents and shanty towns. Some lay passed out in the streets, seemingly from the effects of drugs, as others are pictured lugging their property around in search of the next spot to set up. Guys, there are a gazillion reasons people could give for how they ended up being homeless, with seemingly no ability to lift themselves out of their dire situation. But one of the key factors when you see interviews from some of these people is that they come from a broken home. For years, attacks on the family unit have come like an unforgiving gale wind as Hollywood seeks to normalize abnormal lifestyle choices and as government continues its own war against strong family units while creating an entitlement culture that creates people who think they can get something for nothing. Just like Bastiat said, the state is that great fiction by which everyone seeks to live at the expense of everyone else, and it breaks down culture. Not to mention the drug pushers of the CIA who make health-destroying narcotics widely available to the masses. A law had been passed in 2016 which limited the amount of belongings a homeless person can store on the sidewalk to 60 gallons. A spokesman for the Los Angeles Community Action Network, who'd been campaigning for the new rules regarding property, said, "I hope this is the signal. This is the sign, the proverbial crossroads that insists we spend our money and our time on things that actually get these people off the street." He said, "In the interim, it's our hope that at least this provides some legal guardrails both for homeless people on the street as well as those public servants who are paid to treat the public humanely and responsibly." On Thursday, it was revealed a Los Angeles police detective had been diagnosed with typhoid fever, a rare illness typically spread through contaminated food or water, and at least 5 other officers who work in the same station are showing symptoms. The 6 officers work in the Central Division station, where a state investigation into unsafe and unsanitary working conditions led to penalties and more than $5,000 in fines earlier this month. The division polices downtown Los Angeles, including the notorious Skid Row area, where hundreds of homeless people camp on the streets. The police union says homeless encampments must be cleaned up following the recent diagnosis and other cases where officers contracted hepatitis A and staph infections. Los Angeles Police Protective League Treasurer Robert Harris said, "The last thing I need is my members coming to work worried about contracting an infectious disease and bringing it home to their families." Dustin Derulo, a union spokesman, said that officers who patrol Skid Row walk through feces, urine, and trash, conditions that should alarm everyone and must be addressed. In an op-ed for the LA Times, reporter Steve Lopez called it the collapse of a city that's lost control. writing, "We've got thousands of people huddled on the streets, many of them withering away with physical and mental disease. Sidewalks have disappeared, hidden by tents and the kinds of makeshift shanties you see in third world countries." He called the city a giant trash receptacle. The police union has demanded better protective equipment for officers and called for the station to be regularly sanitized. The police department said exposed areas of the Central Division were being disinfected, and officials were reviewing the state's concerning report that found health violations at the station. The building lacked an effective extermination program and had rats, rodents, fleas, roaches, flies, gnats, mosquitoes, and grasshoppers, according to the State Division of Occupational Safety and Health's May 14th report. The Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says typhoid fever isn't common in the U.S., but affects 22 million people annually in other countries. It's different from typhus, which can spread from infected fleas and caused an outbreak earlier this year that sickened homeless people who live near City Hall and a deputy city attorney. An infectious disease specialist with Mayo Clinic said it's likely the officers were infected through contaminated food or drinks from the same cafeteria. The LAPD said it only had reports of the confirmed case of typhoid fever, and 2 other officers showed typhoid-like symptoms. The union says 5 officers are showing symptoms. A spokesman for Mayor Ed Garcetti said in a statement, "Whether the issue is bad plumbing or something else, the mayor is working with the department to get to the bottom of this situation and will take every possible step to protect the health and safety of our employees." Guys, people hit hard times, and it's easy to judge people who've made choices in their lives that leads to this kind of lifestyle. This amount of homelessness is indicative in a large part to an out-of-control welfare state that's constantly busy removing the precept of individual responsibility. As Hollywood, the government, and media continues to champion the agenda of collectivism, and as the social engineers and their international banking handlers continues to write the script for the destruction of America, you can expect to see more and more of this. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below.